Hello and welcome to your tarot forecast for the full moon in Taurus 2021. Normally I record these videos a little bit before the full moon and I kind of have to feel into the energy to see what's about to come. Today, just because of my schedule, I am recording this after the actual full moon has occurred because it was in the wee morning hours of this morning. So it's going to be a very interesting reading because I'm already feeling a lot of the effects of this full moon. If you are unfamiliar with these readings on this channel, they happen every new and full moon and they happen in two parts. So the first part that's available on YouTube and Instagram is always an abbreviated version for the general collective. And then we get a little more specific with the energy when I dive into the extended reading because it's just for my Patreon. So patreon.com/Michelle Shea is where you will find the extended reading if that is for you. And if you are part of my full-time fortune teller level over on the Patreon, you know that just being a member makes your energy super infused into these readings and especially into the extended reading. I get several comments and messages from people on that level that are like, that reading felt like it was just for me. And it's because it's a smaller group energy. So if you watch these tarot card readings online very often, I just want to clue you in that the intuitive is reading a ton of energy for those readings. So that's why sometimes you'll watch a reading and you're like, that kind of sounded like my situation, but then it veered off course and it didn't sound like it was for me. So the important thing whenever you're watching readings online as opposed to having a one-on-one with an intuitive is to be able to use your own discernment. If you want a really specific specialized reading, you want to narrow down the group that's being read for by joining something like a Patreon, or you want to schedule a one-on-one reading with the reader, which you can also do over at michelleshayewalker.com with me. And speaking of michelleshayewalker.com, it is also where we are going to find our first deck, which is the Total Betty Goddess deck. So if you don't watch these readings, you probably haven't heard, but this is a deck of my creation. It stars 90s icons as the goddesses, and I'm super, super proud of it, basically because I created what I wanted to have in my collection. So everyone that has enjoyed it and purchased it since then is just a part of my tribe, because you get me, because this is a card deck that I wanted. And if you want it too, you can find it over at michelleshayewalker.com, and if you stay tuned to that shop page on michelleshayewalker.com, you might find some special holiday gift cards and events that are happening within the next week because we are coming up on Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday. And I am a small business of one, well, two. My employee is my assistant, Zoe, who gets paid in cat food. So if you want to support a female-owned small business with philanthropic ambitions, feel free to head over and purchase something from that area for yourself or for loved ones for the holiday season. And if you want to stay updated on any special sales that are happening for the holiday season, the two best places for that are going to be over on my Instagram at Michelle Shea. I share a lot of more current information in the stories and sometimes on my feed. Or you can sign up for my Empath Survival Guide newsletter, which is a little love letter to my fellow highly sensitive people and empaths about either my journey or my tips for how to deal with being an empath in the world. Because the bottom of that newsletter always includes a little special insight into current sales or specials that I have going on. So again, it's the holidays. Everybody's looking for their deals. If you want to find mine, those are the places to go for it. And if you are ready for this reading, we're going to get started right now. So we'll start with our Total Betty Goddess card, which is going to give us the general reading for this Taurus full moon. But as I'm shuffling, I can tell you already that this is definitely an energy of focusing on abundance and stability, because Taurus is an earth sign, and I gotta tell you, I don't have a lot of Taurus in my chart and I seem to attract them like magnets, and I think that's because I need a little more of that grounding. My best friend is a Taurus, my sister is a Taurus, the creator of the card creator course that inspired me to create the Total Betty Goddess deck, Gabriella Rosie, is also a Taurus, and she is actually my Taurus spirit animal because I aspire to live in her life of luxury, because Tauruses are about luxury. They're definitely about doing it in a stable way though. There's definitely other signs that are more frivolous with their spending when it comes to spoiling themselves and trying to get some luxury in their life, but Taurus is really about going about it in a very logical, grounded way. So it's well-earned spoiling is what Taurus is. It's, I've worked hard, I've done what I need to, and now I'm going to lavish myself in all of the bubble baths and snacks and food and gifts that I need because I deserve that. And I applaud you Tauruses for that, and I think that we all can use a little bit more of that within this Taurus full moon energy. So if you have been working hard without treating yourself, it's time to treat yourself. And if you've been treating yourself without doing the work to earn it, it's time to earn it. I'm looking at myself when I say that too. So for those of us that are more inclined to sort of a Leo, Libra, frivolous, spoiling ourselves energy, it's time to embody some of the hard work that comes before the spoiling. It's time to earn those rewards. So for our total Betty Goddess of the Taurus full moon, we have Cassandra. So Cassandra is played by a movie that I don't encounter a lot of people know. This 90s movie is one of my personal favorites. It's called The Butcher's Wife. It's Demi Moore in a rare occasion as a blonde. And this movie is about a psychic. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you track it down because it's an adorable movie. And if you are more intuitive, I guarantee you will relate to it because it's all about a psychic misreading her love life for herself. So that is a very common occurrence for those of us that are intuitive. We can read for others, but when it comes to ourselves, in particular our own love lives, we get things slightly off. It's always accurate, but just, you'll see. Watch the movie, you'll see. So the great thing that I love about this card coming up for Taurus full moon is I am the biggest believer in the psychic abilities of the Tauruses. So Taurus energy isn't psychic in the way that, say, Pisces is. So I'm a Pisces moon, and my psychic energy is very like, let's sit on a lily pad and meditate, and we're just going to converse with the cosmos. And it's very much a very cliche energy of we are going to just float in the clouds and daydream, and that's how we're gonna find all the answers. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's something really admirable about the Taurian psychic abilities because they do it in a way that doesn't feel like you recognize that they're a psychic because it's not the cliche that we're used to. So Taurus are very psychic, but because they come across as stubborn and feeling like they know it all in general in life, we tend to discount some of their psychic insights as them just being super hyper opinionated. So I encourage you, if you have some Taurus in your life, especially Taurus suns, or Taurus moons actually, because that would be kind of more of an internal state, so that would tap into the psychic abilities. When they start telling you how it is in a way that feels a little abrupt and a little like you want to bristle against it and tell them that that's just their opinion, take just a little grain of salt of what they're giving you, because there probably is some truth to it. They may not be saying it in the softest, most digestible way for you because they're just going to give it to you bluntly, but there's some wisdom there. And that is what Cassandra is coming in. She's coming in to let us recognize the intuition in our lives, even when it shows up in unexpected forms. Pay attention to the people that you normally wouldn't consider these mystical channels for the universe, because they are always dropping divine wisdom your way as well. How would you encounter the world if you just assumed that every interaction and everything that was said to you, every song that played, had some sort of meaning directing you down your path? Don't get too crazy with it. Find that Taurus energy to ground it, because a Pisces energy will go crazy thinking that every single song that they hear is a psychic insight. But if you find a little bit of energy to ground it, that will really help you to translate it in a way. And actually it comes back to what I said at the beginning of this video in regards to using your own discernment within readings. So everything is a message from the universe, but it's not necessarily the in-your-face literal message that you might think. If you hear a song whose lyrics might resonate for you, it doesn't mean that necessarily your story is going to be the same story as the song. There could be just a line or a phrase that's supposed to resonate for you. And the same thing goes for life. When you encounter things throughout your day, they are always messages, but they may not be literal messages. You have to take it and internalize it and see how that translates. So find your own answer key. And with that in mind, we'll move into our next card deck, which is the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck this week. And we're going to dive into 3 more cards for the general collective. And these 3 cards are going to give us a little insight as to the past, present, future energy for the collective for this aftermath of the Taurus full moon. And then from that, I'll be able to predict what the rest of the reading is going to be focused on so that you can get a little preview of the kind of information that you'll find over on my Patreon. Okay, so we have a past of the cheetah, present of the fish, and future of the turtle. Right away, before I even go into the deeper meaning of these cards, I think it's a beautiful energy to be coming from a past of being super, super fast to the turtle in the future of being a little bit more slow and steady. So this really does kind of feel like it's coming into a more grounded energy. We actually have fire, water, and water for the elements of these cards, but it definitely feels like it's coming more into an earthy energy. So the reading that I get off of this energy is really more from an emotional standpoint. So the cheetah could indicate that in the past you've had a lot of fast forward movement or you have been really impulsive with your decisions, but that's not really the full energy that I get off of this card. I get off of this card that in the past you may have been more reactive with your emotions based on the situations around you. So you might have found that you were a little up and down, a little volatile with your emotional reactions to the world around you, to your relationships, to the events that are occurring in your life. And there's a time and a place for that because it is a very passionate energy, but we're trying to transmute that into a more sustainable energy. So this past reactivity and this present of the full moon is coming into the fish, which is cooling things off. We're taking the fire and we're adding in some water, we're cooling things down, bringing it down to the embers rather than the full flame. So the thing that the fish is here telling us is to really swim in our intuition. It's coming back to that card of Cassandra. Like, we are all psychic and everyone around us is psychic and the whole world and day is trying to give us messages, but we need to be able to tap into that part of ourselves that can read those messages. So this fish energy is very much about allowing yourself to go with the flow a little bit. Because we're coming from this emotionally reactive place, the fish energy is just saying, like, just be for a little bit. And just go with it for a little bit. That's definitely a message that's coming through because we are talking about going throughout our normal everyday life and picking up on the messages that the universe is sending us. And the fish is really going with the flow. So rather than trying to react against the world around you and to sort of like change things with this fiery, passionate nature, what happens if you just go with it? How can you embody this feeling of yes and if you're in the improv community? There's this feeling of whenever the universe hands you a situation, whether you perceive it as good or bad, how can you just say yes and? How can you be like, okay, all right, this is where we're going. Okay, I'm along for the ride. Because that's definitely what this feels like. I think there's gonna be some changes that happen underneath this full moon energy. And they're not going to be necessarily what you planned for, but they're going to be what you need. And I don't get the feeling that they're even necessarily going to be bad, but if you're so stuck in how you thought things were going to unfold and trying to really power through with this fiery cheetah nature, you're going to miss out on an opportunity that is actually probably going to end up being easier for you. But that's only if you stop resisting it. So the fish energy is very much about finding that ability to roll with the punches and finding that ability to just be like, okay, this is the situation I find myself in. I'm not gonna cry about it. I'm not gonna get angry at the world for putting me in this situation. I'm just gonna say, okay, here I am. This is the next step and this is where I'm rolling. This is what I'm gonna do with it. So look at where you are. Be present with where you are. Don't look at where you thought you'd be. Don't look at where you wish you were, and don't get mad at the world for placing you here because it's where you're supposed to be in this moment, and it's so you can learn this lesson of going with the flow. So whatever you have in front of you, think of just the next right step. Don't think 5 steps ahead. Don't think where it's going. Like, what's the next step to get you out of a situation that you don't like? Or what's the next step to intensify the situation that you're in that you do like? And be okay with where it leads you. Like, that next step is all you need to know. So your intuition doesn't need to see 5 years down the line. As you're opening up this Cassandra-like energy of being more psychic and being more intuitive and trusting your own intuition, You don't have to go to the nth degree. And even if you go to a professional psychic, I'm going to tell you that no professional psychic should be able to tell you without a shadow of a doubt what's going to happen 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, because of two things. One, free will. Your free will is always going to have effect on what's going to happen in the distant future. So one little change that you make now could affect something really big in your future. And then the other is, ever since 2012, when there was like a huge shift in the energy, we're in a different paradigm where that free will is much more effective. So if you had had a psychic reading pre-2012, they might have really been able to tell you with high accuracy what's going to happen 5 years down the line. And it's because things were much more set in stone, but we're coming into a place of self-creation. And we shifted into this energy in after 2012 of being more in charge of our own destinies as a collective. And that's why the energy is more malleable. It's not that the psychics are less talented now, it's that you are more a part of that creation, and you are supposed to take ownership of your own intuition in order to get there. So with the fish energy, your intuition just has to tell you what the next step is. Don't worry about 5 years down the line. What is the thing that's calling out to you tomorrow? What is the thing that you need to accomplish this week? And then keep going with that, because it's supposed to shift and change. That's why you can't see super far down the line, because the thing you're supposed to do this week may not seem like it makes any sense for what's going to happen to you 5 years from now, but it is, because the thing that you're going to do this week is going to lead you to the thing that you do next week, and so on and so on. And that's going to build to this ultimate future of whatever is meant to be for you. So that is the big message of our present. And then the future is coming in with the turtle. And the turtle, even though it's a water in this deck, is giving me big earth energy. This is definitely a slow and steady wins the race. So that's gonna help you hopefully to find this fish energy of being present one moment at a time, because it's not about the race anymore. We are not in this cheetah energy right now. So this is an old habit. It doesn't mean it's not going to come back into play and be a talent that you need. But for right now, and particularly I get until at least the end of the year, it's very much about what's in front of me, what's the next step. What's in front of me, what's the next step. And that's going to feel slower. But it's going to be what gets you there in a more stable way. But it's going to get you there and with a more stable foundation. And then that's how you're going to be able to embody that Taurus energy of having built a good foundation and earn your rewards so that you then can sit in the lap of luxury later. So really embrace this change, because it's gonna give you something really sustainable and really stable, and you're gonna get big rewards. They're gonna be so much more worth it. It kind of reminds me of this energy of buying something on credit versus investing in something that you have the money for. Because buying something on credit, is you still get the same rush of the purchase, that dopamine rush that we get whenever we buy something new, but then you have to worry about it later. And so when you're buying something not on credit that you have plenty of money in the bank for, and it's just a drop in the bucket to treat yourself to this thing, you can then just enjoy the presence of that thing in your life. You don't have to worry about what comes later as far as the repercussions of that purchase when you have to pay off that debt. So these are the cards that we have. I get the feeling that this is definitely money and luxury. It's still going with that energy of really being present in building a stable foundation for your future. So if those are things that you've been working on, the rest of this reading is definitely for you. If you even kind of think that this reading is for you, it's already infused in what's about to be recorded. So head over to michelleshaywalker.com/Michelle Shea. It's the full-time fortune teller level that gets access to these readings. And if you sign up for that level before the Sunday after this full moon, so Sunday, November 21st is going to be my belated post full moon energy live tarot event. And that is free to my full-time fortune teller levels. It is a ticket purchase price if you want to not join the Patreon and still join the live full moon readings, where I do basically a question and answer for anyone that's there. It's usually a smaller group, so everybody usually gets to ask at least one question, if not 2 or 3 questions. If you want what's almost a one-on-one reading with me for a fraction of the cost, head down to that. You can purchase the ticket, or you can join the Patreon at the full-time fortune teller level to get access. Information will be below. And if you do want just a one-on-one video reading with me where I answer all of your questions for 45 minutes, those are also available and currently on sale, so I'll link that below as well. And if you are watching this on Patreon, the rest of your reading starts right now.